I'm changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look back ever again.
Hello and welcome back to Stitch and Witch. I'm your host, Hikari Rose, and today we have a very special episode. For the last 5 episodes, I've been giving broad stroke ideas and methods to use for a variety of cosplays, but it's all been pretty theoretical. So now, I'm going to give you a more in-depth look at how I made one of my cosplays, from concept to construction to competition, showing you all the little considerations that help breathe life into a design and make it really special. Without further ado, let me introduce you to my most recent project titled Memento Mori. This was inspired by the YouTube channel known as Una's Honest, drawing inspiration from the overarching style of the two hosts, Markiplier and Crank Gameplays, also known as Mark Fishbach and Ethan Nestor. More specifically, drawing from their first and very last appearance on the channel, the trailer and the goodbye live stream, with a heavy emphasis on that live stream, as it was when I was watching it that the idea to make this costume began. See, Una's Honest was a year-long creative project with Mark and Ethan releasing 1 episode a day for a whole year, then deleting the channel live on stream when the timer hit 0. I wanted to make something to celebrate the channel, an artistic expression of I was there. When I started designing the costume, I took inspiration from the suits, from the split colors, the spiral, the skulls, and the hourglass. I took all of these as key pieces that would summarize the visual identity of the channel. Now, at this point in my cosplay career, I've made a handful of original designs following a specific fashion style called Gothic Lolita. So that would give it a personal flair, my own signature, if you will. I had a sewing pattern for a Lolita dress that had suit elements on the upper half of the cosplay, and a pattern for a long-sleeve button-up shirt, so I had a broad stroke idea of fabric and trim requirements with just one catch. See, since color is a large part of the visual identity of the channel, I wanted a strong black and white vertical split with absolutely no color crossing over. However, when I looked at the suits they were wearing, they each had a metal accent color on there, where black got silver and white got gold. So I added that to my design. Now, for a few different reasons, if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. Black was associated with Unis, and white was associated with Honest. So I took that idea and incorporated it into the costume. Reading out Una's Honest right to left, it's black on the right, white on the left. Una's Honest. With that decided, I started shopping. I needed shoes, a wig, and tights, keeping the split colors in mind. Arta Wig sells short split wigs and curly hair clips that gave me black and white twin tails. I was also able to find split tights that didn't need any modifications, and I was able to find shoes. Now, shoes were the only place I was willing to make a concession on the color scheme, since it could get pricey to buy 2 pairs of shoes to get the colors right, but I was able to get shoes that followed the death theme of the costume, while being very extra about it, so they were perfect. I was also able to find blazer buttons in silver and gold with skulls for the front and the sleeve cuffs, since any trim or details added on to one side had to have an identical match on the other, just in the opposing color, with only one exception which we'll get to later. So if I had trim in white, it had to have a black counterpart, and if I had silver, then gold had to appear on the other side. These strict rules help keep everything cohesive. With all of that sorted, I went fabric shopping. I decided that the main fabric for the coat, the skirt, and the shirt would be made out of plain cotton, since this cosplay was gonna be warm with all the layers, and cotton is breathable and light, which would help with that. While I was shopping, I also came across something that gave me an idea. See, the pattern asks for contrast fabric for the lower half of the coat and the sleeve cuffs, and I found skull pattern lace in both black and white. And I also found shiny silver and gold fabric So I decided to layer the lace on top of the metallic fabric for some shiny flair. With fabric in hand and a minor loss of sanity finding lace and trim in the sizes I wanted adhering to my strict rules, I was ready to start construction. For the cosplay, I had plans to construct a button-up shirt, a skirt, a necktie, suspenders, a face mask, and a coat. The shirt was pretty straightforward, with the only complication being that I had to decide which color overlapped and get buttoned to the correct color. So since black was on top, I put black buttons on so it blended in more. Next was the skirt, which was the easiest thing to sew for the project. It had a zipper in the side seam, so I got it in white for the white side of the skirt. Then came the tie. Now, the pattern was not planning on someone making the questionable life decision to split the collar down the middle, so I ended up sewing, taking apart, and re-sewing it several times. Having to sew and resew is just par for the course with sewing. Just remember that you only finish clothes because you put in more seams than you took out. Moving on from that came the suspenders. These hardly ever get seamed, but they still had to follow the rules. To make these, I found black and white ribbon, measured it out by putting the center clip in the middle of the ribbon, attaching it to the skirt, and marking where the two ends stayed up without any slack, cutting it, sewing it on the other two clips, and then the suspenders were done. Next was the face mask, since I wanted to make one that matched the costume. So I took a basic face mask pattern, cut it out, sewed it up, and with elastic bands in the correct colors on each side. Last but far from least, the coat. This took the most time and arranging to assemble. Once I had the trim and button arranged on each of the various pieces, it wasn't too hard, just very time consuming. The trickiest part was the accent pieces, as I used a machine called a serger to attach the lace to the metallic fabric to prevent any fraying. It took a while, and the serger definitely did not like it, but it made life so much easier in the long run. The only other modification was that the coat has a front panel crossover to the other side, which I cut into to attach a piece in the right color to prevent any color crossing. Once all the sewing was done, I had a final couple accessories, details, and props to add. You see, during the Goodbye live stream we talked about, Mark got a white top hat, and I wanted to make a mini white top hat as an homage to that. This is the only thing that I made that did not have a matching counterpart, as only Mark got the top hat. So I had a mini top hat pattern that I cut out of a cereal box, used hot glue to cover the pieces with white cotton, put a white ribbon hat band on, and then attached with white and gold flowers I got at the craft store on sale in the bridal section, the best place to find white floral pieces. Once the hat was done, I put two bobby pins on the bottom of it so I could attach it to the wig. I also made earrings for this cosplay, which, due to what I could find, ended up being asymmetrical. The gold side got one large hourglass charm, and the silver side got a chain with several mini hourglass charms hanging down. The last accessory was a lucky find while shopping. See, I wanted some sort of handheld prop for the costume, and I toyed with a couple of ideas like a scythe, but while I was wandering around Spirit Halloween, I came across a walking stick with an hourglass on top, which is perfect. Now, it just needed to be repainted, so I got some black and white spray paint and some painter's tape, taping a spiral on the length of the stick and painting everything over white. I then taped over the white half of the hourglass, as well as the top part of the stick, and went over it with black. Pulled up the tape, hit it with some top coat to protect the paint job, and it was done. The last touch was adding colored contacts, one white, one black, to give it a little bit more visual impact. Go big or go home, right? With all of that made, the cosplay was done. Now, I had a local con that I wanted to show this cosplay at, and how their cosplay contests work is that you'd show up for prejudging, where you get a chance to explain what you did to make your cosplay to the panel of 3 judges. After that, the cosplay contest runners ask for you to provide 2 specific things. First, they ask you for your character name, which I decided was going to be Memento Mori, Latin for remember, you will die, which was used as the catchphrase for the channel, actually. The second thing they asked for is any specific audio for your walk on stage. Not every cosplay contest will let you bring your own audio, but this one did. Knowing I wanted to use audio from the channel, I saved the monologue that Mark and Ethan had in the trailer for Unis Honest, which I lip synced to on stage. So if Mark was the one talking, I used my white half, and for Ethan, I used my black half. Now, how this particular costume contest worked is once everyone got to go on stage and show off their stuff, the judges tallied up the final score. With the scores added up, they announced that Memento Mori won Best in Show, which made all of the work I'd put into this costume worth it. It was the most complicated and detailed project I've done to date, and a wearable homage to one of the wildest rides I've ever been a part of. And while I was excited to win, showing what I can do is its own reward. And that's what I want to press to all of you. You compete in contests. Winning is secondary to the achievement of making a cosplay and showing it off. And if you don't want to compete, that's fine too. Lots of people don't. You still put in all the effort to create something, and that's amazing. But that's everything I have for you today. I'm going to take a break for the holidays. I hope your holidays are merry and bright. But for now, keep on stitching, and I'll see you next time.